Welcome, everyone, to the Gauntlet here on FightfulOverbooked.com. I'm Jeremy Lambert, and the man next to me, the man you know, the man you love, the fucking goat of this whole thing, Andrew Thomspon from Post Wrestling, from Andrew Thomspon Interviews. Andrew, how you doing, buddy?
Jeremy, it's always good talking to you, my man. It was great seeing you a couple months back at your wonderful wedding, you and your now wife. It was very great to see all of you, man. That was I cannot believe that was almost, was that 2 months ago now? That was
Yes,
Jesus
just
Christ.
over
That was
2 months. Yep.
full 2 months ago, but it was definitely great seeing you. I think at that point that had to have been. I think the last time I saw you before that was, that had StarCast 2019.
It
The
was,
last
yeah,
time I
that's
saw
probably
you in
sarcasm.
person.
Yeah.
So I got to see you like three whole damn years later, man. But it was good to see you, man, and everybody else, and Sid, SP3, Sean, the whole crew, man, Steven Jensen. It was great to see all of you, man. That was a very beautiful wedding that you guys had. Very beautiful. Like y'all should have seen how quickly like the people moved to like set up the area, the transition from wedding to like.
That's what I heard.
Bro, I have never seen no shit like that in my life. Like they were on point. Like it was. We probably was outside waiting for probably 5 minutes max before they switched that into, and that was, but that wasn't no small room. That was a big ass room that they had to like, and they bro, I'd say max 5-6 minutes we was waiting outside before they had everything set up. It was that was a great setup, man. A beautiful wedding, bro. Congratulations again to you, man.
Thank you, buddy. Yeah, everyone said that it was very quick and they switched it over quickly. And we were doing photos at this time, but everyone was like, "Yeah, they got us out there, and then they were switched. Then we were back in there, and they were like, it was great. It was a great venue. I thought it was a great time. It was honestly the best day of my life. I was very happy that you were able to make it. And yeah, I only posted one photo of on the wedding day, pre-wedding, and that was when I ran into you and Sean outside. Outside. And I was like, I got to take a photo with these two. And this is the only pre-wedding photo that I'm going to post. And later on in the year, I realized the year's up in like 3 weeks, but that photo meant a whole lot to me. And I don't know if like even you and Sean and certainly everybody else like understand how much that photo meant to me. And I'll kind of explain things at the end of the year as I do a big like year recap. We're doing a show and then I'll probably post something on Twitter, but that photo just, it meant so much to me, and you being there meant so much to me. So I appreciate that you showed up.
It's a lot of history in that photo, man. A lot of good history.
Yeah.
A lot of good history in that photo, man. That goes 2018. So yeah, it's a lot of good memories in that photo, man.
See, I wish I had taken like more photos with people, but especially after the wedding, like when you're the groom, you have to do a million things that you're just kind of moving from one place to another, and you don't always have time to stop and think about things. So I wish I would have taken more photos, but that is one photo that I'm very happy that I got, and one photo that I explain how much that meant to me, because I legitimately would not be where I'm at without you two. And so it meant a ton to me that both of you showed up, and that I was so happy to grab that photo. All right, Andrew,
hands down I was about to add one little thing. Hands down, my favorite part of the wedding. This is not even a question. I ain't gotta think about it. This man came out to the John Cena.
Yeah.
that shit was great. That was hilarious, bro. Like you wouldn't know where I could tell like the majority of the people in the room, they weren't like wrestling. Like, I mean, well, I'm talking about our like us. We were like the wrestling people. So we got it. and that was what's so funny about it. That was hilarious, bro.
Yes, she let me pick that one, and she's the one who kind of suggested it, because she knows I'm a Cena fan and I like the song and stuff. So she suggested it, and she's like, I was like, can we do that? And she's like, yeah, sure, whatever. And then I nearly dragged her to the ground as I did the run, and she wasn't having any of the running portion of it. She's like, I'm in heels, I'm not doing any of this, absolutely not. So not doing that. All right, let's get into it, Andrew. We're gonna go back to 2019. We're gonna go back to April of 2019 here on the Gauntlet, following WrestleMania 35, where Kofi Kingston, Kofi Mania, concluded with him winning the WWE Championship from Brian Danielson at WrestleMania 35. And Kofi made a number of defenses during his title reign. And we're gonna talk about those defenses. I'm gonna throw the matches at Andrew. We're gonna talk about them one by one. He's gonna pick which one he thinks is kind of the defining defense of Kofi's run, because we all know Kofi Mania. We all know how it started. We all know how it ended. But what is that moment during the run that is most memorable for Kofi Kingston? That's what we're going to talk about here today. And we will talk about, kind of the after effects. I know Andrew has a lot to say about that. But let's get into his actual title run here. So I'm going to throw two matches at you, Andrew. Let's go in order with Kofi Kingston, and let's kind of just talk about the entire run. Usually I mix things up. I'll throw stuff out of order. Let's actually go in order for Kofi's run. So we began with the next night, the Raw after Mania, with Kofi against Seth Rollins, who had just won the Universal title. And this ended in DQ. Do you prefer this match, or about a month later, we got the rematch between Kofi Kingston and Daniel Bryan on Raw? Which match do you prefer, Andrew?
You want to know? I had completely forgot about that night after WrestleMania, like the match portion, not the end. Because I remember when Kofi came out that night after WrestleMania, bro. He got that massive massive reaction when they confronted Seth Rollins. But I had forgot that they had the match, because I know they ended up doing like a tag match or something like that with. I want to say it was
Cesaro and Sheamus.
Cesaro and Sheamus, yeah. And I remember
that's the infamous beach ball match.
Oh my goodness, man. And yeah. So when I think back on that, I'm so glad you reminded me of that, because that was like one of the more special interests that I remember. And that was just a great moment for Kofi overall. But yeah, man, I'm gonna say if I gotta choose between that and the one that he and Bryan had, I gotta go with the rematch with Bryan. I feel like Kofi and Bryan, they have like great chemistry, and I also think it's a big part of that. It's like, I'm sure you've seen it, like just from covering wrestling, like you've seen the stuff that Bryan has said about Kofi, and like on the lead up to it, and he was like all in on making sure that Kofi got his moment and stuff like that. So I think that Bryan internally, him wanting to like further solidify Kofi, I think that only just increases the chemistry that they have when they get in the ring with each other.
The Bryan match, like the rematch, was not nearly as good as the WrestleMania match. The WrestleMania match is one of my all-time favorite matches. But the Rollins Kofi thing was, and they booked a DQ. That's obviously going to hurt it immediately. That just felt like we don't have anything to book, and so let's just book these two guys who just won the title. And then, of course, it turned into a tag team match. It is such a throwaway match, and it's really a shame, because it felt like it could have been a big deal, and it's a throwaway thing. Absolute throwaway. The rematch, they built to it actually with Bryan. Like, they built to it and they did it. I don't think many people thought like Bryan was going to win, but because nobody believed in Kofi in the first place, there was a little bit like, oh, maybe they'll just do a short little reign for Kofi.
But you want to know what? I think that was probably one of the more one of the more, like, it depends on how you look at it. Like, positive things about Kofi title reign that I really like is that he really was a genuine underdog, in the sense that it felt like at any point they were just going to like fucking take the title away from him. You know what I'm saying? Like, it genuinely felt like every defense there was an opportunity, or there was going to be a chance that he was going to lose the title. And then you have other champions who, like, when you just know for a fact that they're not losing, like, it doesn't even feel like they're losing the title. But like, I think that kind of adds to that helps being a babyface when people think that there is a chance, like damn near every defense, that you could lose the title. I mean, I know people might not agree with that, but I think that for me personally as a viewer, that like helps me want to root for the babyface one. I was already going like all in on Kofi anyway, but like, I think that just added to the like overall intensity of his run. And like, I'm pretty sure we'll get into some of these matches that he had, championship matches. Not all of them were like the most high profile, and I think that's mostly because of some of the way that it was built. I'm not gonna blame it on the individuals that they was in there, except for one I will blame, and we will get to that 100%. But I agree with what you were saying about the Rollins and Kofi match, that it could have been something big. But like, I wanted to ask you, bro, like, why would you even book something like that if you're not gonna go through with like a definitive finish, especially the night after, or coming off of WrestleMania? With like, if you're gonna promote something like that, like, I mean, we all know how that Vince McMahon era of booking is, but like, if you're gonna promote something that big, like, I mean, like, why you might as well have just stayed away from it in general, to be honest with you.
They booked it because this is just what they do. They were trying to. This was one of the like more forgettable Raw after WrestleManias from what I recall. I don't remember exactly what happened on this show. Like
Didn't
the thing
Lars
that I
Sullivan
remember.
show up?
Sure. Oh, that sounds like something that probably happened. It sounds awful. Like the most memorable thing about the show is like the beach balls and the Cesaro Sheamus stuff and Cesaro popping the beach balls and everything. Like that was the most. That's what I remember from the show. So it seemed like they just wanted to like pop of like, oh, Kofi and Rollins, you love these guys. Let's book this title versus title thing. And then it was, yeah, we're gonna do a DQ because neither of these guys were going to lose. It just felt like they needed to juice with something. And this is what they decided because they had literally nothing else to go with here.
Yeah.
So the Daniel Bryan rematch defeats the Seth Rollins title versus title match that should have never been booked. Move on. A night after Raw, we have SmackDown, and Kofi faces AJ Styles and Sami Zayn in a triple threat match. What should you prefer, Andrew? The Daniel Bryan rematch or the triple threat match with Sami Zayn and AJ Styles?
Right. You reminded me of like so many, because like when I was preparing for this, I was going through like the pay-per-view and like the special title defenses, but I had slipped past the some of the stuff that he was doing on TV, and I like have like some recollection of the AJ Styles and not complete recollection of it, but I do remember some of it. But if I got to choose like between the two, I'm see this is a hard, because I'm starting, it's starting to like come back to me like a little bit, not all the way, but it's starting to come back. I'm gonna say, okay, you know, but we go put this, not the WrestleMania match, so I'm gonna push the Brown one to the side, and I'm gonna roll with the AJ, Sammy, and Kofi match. If I'm remembering this correctly, I hope I'm not. You're not about to tell me this like, so it was like some type of wow finish to it in terms of like undecisive finish. But I'm gonna roll with that. Let's go with that. We can go with the triple threat.
So if you haven't seen this triple threat match, or it's been a while, I'm not saying this is the greatest triple threat match in the world. As like a TV main event, especially during this time, this is a good match. Look, it's Kofi Kingston,
yeah,
Sami Zayn, AJ Styles, 3 excellent workers in the ring, right? So it's tough to have a bad match with these 3. This is a good little TV match. They once again, Kofi kind of played underdog. I remember the finish of this match where Sami hits like 2 blue thunder bombs, and then at least 2, maybe it was more. And then he goes for like another one, and then he goes for the haluva kick, and as he's running, Kofi cuts him off with the Trouble in Paradise to win. And AJ had been taken out before this. This was a setup with Kevin Owens as well, because that's going to be his next program going into Money. It's already part of his program, but then that's his opponent at Money in the Bank. But if you've not seen this triple threat match in a while, go back and watch it. It's a good little TV main event. I prefer it over the Bryan rematch myself. And the Bryan rematch isn't bad. One, it was never going to live up to the WrestleMania match, but this triple threat match, again, fun little TV main event. Go watch it if you haven't. All right, so you're going with the Styles, Sami Zayn triple threat as well. So that's going to knock off the Bryan rematch. Now we get into the Kevin Owens Money in the Bank match against Styles and Sami Zayn. Which one do you prefer, Andrew?
So with the Kevin Owens one, like so when I was like going and looking through like some of the pay-per-view title defenses, and I was trying to think back, and like I watched like 1 or 2 of the reigns, more particularly some of the ones that I didn't remember in terms of like those marquee title defenses that he had. Like the Owens one, like it was still very fresh off of Kofi Mania, so you still had that. You know what I'm saying? It still had that certain feel to it. And then on top of that, like knowing it, with hindsight, knowing that the original plan, it was going to be Kevin Owens versus Danielson at Mania 35. And then like the Kofi stuff, just like, you know what I'm saying? It just happened, and it took off and like morphed into his own thing. But like, I remember this match, and I remember it being like really good on the Money in the Bank card. That I remember that Money in the Bank card being kind of decent. I think that was the one that had, I want to say, Seth versus Elias, if I'm not mistaken, or that was
no, this was Seth and AJ.
This is Seth and AJ.
They had
That's what that was.
they had a great match.
When he did the counted the curve stomp to the Styles. Yeah, okay. I had to make sure I got the 2018, 2019 confused. But yeah, I remember this extreme. I say extreme. That Money in the Bank card being like somewhat decent from what I remember. But yeah, the Owens match. I remember me really liking that. In comparison to that, the triple threat with AJ and Sammy, I'm gonna roll with the Owens and Kofi match. I'm gonna kick the triple threat to the side, and I'm gonna move on with this. The Owens Kofi.
So this had the.
I say real quick. Wasn't this? I hope I don't got my timeline mistaken, but this was when Owens had turned on the New Day, right?
Yeah,
because he was doing like wearing the horn and like doing all the stuff with New Day and stuff like that. And then he switched up on them to get the okay. I just want to make sure I remember what that was. Okay.
Yeah, this was when Big E was out, so he wanted to be Big O. And
Big O.
then he turned on them, and that set everything up here. I had to follow Seth and AJ, which was just an excellent match. I think the crowd was a little down on this, and then the Money in the Bank match. This was the infamous Brock Lesnar Money in the Bank match, where Ali was waiting up on the ladder for 5 hours, waiting for Brock to get down to the ring. Maybe a hot take. I kind of prefer the triple threat match over this Kevin Owens match. It's not that this Owens match is bad. It's just, I do think like the placement was a little bit not beneficial for them following Seth and AJ. And it never felt like it got like out of second gear on this one for me. It felt like they had a better match in them. And I like the triple threat match. There was a little bit more sense of urgency to that match for me. So I prefer the triple threat match game. Maybe a hot take. I don't know. But
no, I don't think that's a I don't think that's
you would pick the Kevin Owens match. You're going with Kevin Owens. So Kevin Owens, Money in the Bank, moving on to take now Dolph Ziggler, Super Showdown in Saudi Arabia. Which match do you prefer, Andrew?
I'm definitely 100% staying with the Kevin Owens Money in the Bank match. Dude, like the thing about this Dolph Ziggler thing was like I remember this vividly. Him doing his whole, it should have been me. It should have been me. I'm like, and like every time I hear that, I always think about that Owens promo when he was like, it was you. It should have been you, and then it was a couple years ago, and then it wasn't, and now it's not, and it's never gonna be again. I always think about that promo, but like, I just didn't think that Dolph Ziggler was a great follow-up in the slightest. Like, I think especially at that point, and even now, I think that Dolph in the main event scene is like very, very played out. Like, no matter how you try to switch it or position them, like I feel like they have a lot of U.S. title, Intercontinental title equity with Dolph Ziggler. Like even at that point, and like especially him coming off of that, I know you remember that feud that he had with Miz in 2016 when they was going into the I Quit match at No Mercy 26 at No Mercy.
Yeah,
like when he was doing like that. That was like put aside the world title thing that he had. Like I feel like that was probably Dolph Ziggler's like greatest work that he's ever done. That fucked around. I think he lost the title like 2 weeks later or something like that. Typical WWE fashion right there. Give him a great moment to take the title away from him. But I just didn't find Dolph Ziggler interesting at all at this point, especially like him just being slided into this feud with Kofi. And then of course they did a rematch, which I'm pretty sure we're going to talk about at the Stomping Ground show. But I was not feeling this Saudi match at all. Like, I mean, it wasn't bad. Like it wasn't that, but like, I remember me vividly just not being interested in Dolph Ziggler in a Kofi feud at all. I feel like they could have selected a number of people, preferably Mustafa Ali, who made the most sense out of anybody outside of Randy Orton in this. I'm talking about this entire run. If there was anybody that made the most sense outside of Randy Orton, and that's strictly because of history, it was Mustafa Ali. I'm pretty sure everybody knows the story. He was supposed to be in that Elimination Chamber match, got hurt, and then Kofi went on and had his glamorous, moment at WrestleMania. Me personally, I don't think that Ali was going to be WWE champion, but the way that the story played, you can assume that was going to happen, and that's what makes it interesting. So, but of course, we got Dolph Ziggler versus Kofi in Saudi Arabia, and I was not feeling this at all, Jeremy. So I'm going to stay with the Owens match. And you kind of making me want to go back and choose the triple threat, but I'm gonna stick with the Owens and Kofi match and Money in the Bank.
The Dolph Ziggler match took place on this Saudi Arabia show. Do you remember the Saudi Arabia show? Like what all was on this, Andrew?
What was it? Was this the one with Undertaker and missed that when Triple H tore his pec? Is that what this was?
No. This was Undertaker and Goldberg.
And
yes. Yes. This was Undertaker and Goldberg. And it also had that 3.5 hour Triple H and Randy Orton match on this show as well. This is one of the worst pay-per-views I've ever had to sit through. The Undertaker Goldberg match has like redeeming quality as like it's so terrible that it's good. Like I can go back and watch it and just like laugh at it, knowing that both guys fortunately are okay. But yeah, it's such a bad pay-per-view. Like Ziggler, nobody bought him as a challenger. The finish had like Woods interfering for Kofi. Like I don't need that with Kofi as the champion either. Like I wasn't a fan of this match, honestly. Ziggler, yeah, you're right about the Owens thing. Like it should have been you. It was you. It wasn't. Like we get it with Dolph. And Dolph is like a very great worker too.
Yeah,
he is just much better. He's much better at when he can like bump around and everything. And Kofi and him have just like a sort of a weird chemistry where I don't think it fully works. Especially the dynamics they were trying to play off of as well. I prefer the Kevin Owens match as well.
I went and just looked at the match card for that Super Showdown. So I'm looking at it, bro. The highlight of this show, hands down, was Mansoor won the Battle Royal. Not even a question.
Yeah.
That was the biggest moment on the show. The one that most me. Lars Sullivan in a squash lucha house party. The whole team. What else we got? We got Shane McMahon. I forgot Shane and Roman. Roman.
Shane and Roman, where he had him in a chin lock for about 20 minutes.
Oh my goodness, bro! Like, hey, bro, looking at this card, it's the Revival and the Usos on the pre-show, but like it is like crazy to think about like how different a spat everybody is, and like, well, for the most part, it seemed like everybody is. Like, it's crazy, bro. But like, yeah, going back to what the Kofi story, like I was not feeling anything with him and Dolph Ziggler, bro. And I remember like I was just so ready for them to move past this. And I thought that this was going to be the last match, but continue, Jeremy. It was not.
Because Xavier Woods interfered for some reason at the Super Showdown show. Dolph wanted a cage match, and he got a cage match at Stomping Grounds, and Kofi defeated him at Stomping Grounds. But which do you prefer, the cage match with Dolph Ziggler or the Kevin Owens Money in the Bank match?
I am going to stay with the Kevin Owens Money in the Bank match. But you want to know what? I will say this, bro. Do you remember the finish to this?
The finish is the only memorable thing about this match.
But I like genuinely remember. Bro, what's me and you covering this show? Stomping Grounds?
So. Yeah.
I think we was covering the show together. And I remember, bro, I was just like on my phone, like looking at Twitter, like doing the match, and then like I remember towards the end of it, I remember I seen the dude Kofi like fly over Ziggler. I was like, that was a great fit, but the match was not good. Like the match was not good. Like I remember this. I did not enjoy it at all. But the finish was really good. Where I was just waiting for them to move past this. Again, the person who should have been in this spot, like after the Saudi Arabia thing with Dolph Ziggler, Wood should have never interfered. Should have been a straight up, decisive victory for Kofi. It should have been Mustafa Ali, bro. He was the person. It just made sense. Like that. I'm like, I've said this on so many like different podcasts, but like I am just like so confused on how like that was not an option or a route that they went when it was so clear cut, bro. It was like, right, that's like a ready-made feud that makes sense that you can build. Ali's upset because this dude took the opportunity, like well, when am I gonna get my shot? And he never got it. And Ali is like, I don't know what the hell they got him doing now, but yeah, I'm gonna stick with the Kevin Owens and Kofi match because was not feeling dog sick. Great finish though. Great finish to this Stomping Grounds match.
It's the finish is by far the most memorable thing about this match. It was too long. Again, Ziggler as the challenger trying to become the champion didn't buy into it. I'm with you. The Kevin Owens match is better.
Have you like you want to know the crazy thing about this like this series you got, this Gauntlet, like you making me like go back and look at like some of these match cards because I remember this stuff, but like it's like in the you know how you remember stuff, but it's like in the back of your mind, so you like unless you see it like, but then like when you see it, like I'm remembering all this stuff. Rollins and Corbin headline this show. Daniel Bryan and Braun were the tag champions, bro. Bailey and Alexa Bliss was doing that god awful feud. That shit was terrible. And but was this before, wait when Bliss and Bailey went 1-on-1 when they was having a feud? What was this, the Extreme Rules? That was when they had that. That was that year, right? That they had this. I'm talking about this trash.
No, I think that was because that Bailey was heel by this point because Bailey was heel by this point. That was a few years earlier. You know what? They did have a match at Extreme Rules.
You're right.
It was Bailey against Bliss and Nikki Cross. So it was not that terrible match that we all remember.
But
they did run it back at Extreme Rules, and according to the cage match ratings, this one wasn't too good either.
But I remember the Ricochet Samoa Joe match being a banger. That was a banger. That was good. I remember that when Ricochet got the U.S. title. But it's so crazy looking at this match card, bro. Like it's oh my goodness. And this was when Jeremy. This was when my 205 Live fandom. Oh my goodness. I was so happy that they was making it order some of these pay-per-views. Like 205 Live had to be some of the best wrestling. But yes, going back to the overall topic, Kofi, I am going to stick with Kevin Owens versus Kofi at Money in the Bank.
All right, we got Kevin Owens, Kofi, Money in the Bank. Now Samoa Joe, Kofi Kingston, Extreme Rules 2019. Which one you got, Andrew?
I am good because I remember I took a note on this one. Like this match didn't go too long, and like I remember like some parts of the build to this. And I remember this meme. I still got this meme on my phone where Kofi gave Joe the finger on SmackDown.
Yes,
that was great. That was like one of my favorite Kofi moments from this feud. Like honestly, bro, especially with Samoa Joe, even at this point in his career, like and especially now, I feel like the best utilization of Samoa Joe is like these like quick and easy matches. Like shit do not gotta be 20 minutes. Like I'm not trying to see this man go 20 minutes. Like I think the best utilization of Samoa Joe from this point in his career, that's 2019 to even where he is now, like 10 minutes, 15 minutes max. Everything's like sort of moving fast, or like it's not too slow. It's like that Samoa Joe pace that we have grown to see over this last several years stretch of his career, when he's like I see some people saying like Samoa Joe like washed. Like I'm not gonna say he washed, but he's definitely not what he used to be. You know what I'm saying? Like
he's 43.
Yeah, he's 43 years old. Yeah, he's old, bro. You know what I'm saying? But like I think that this match was okay for what it was. It wasn't bad at all. Like I genuinely prefer just to repeat what I said, like these Samoa Joe matches that I like, under that 10-minute mark or right there or just above like that. And I think that sort of works real well. So and also I remember this being the night that when we got that picture with Woods, Kofi, and E, when they all had the tag titles. I think E and Woods won the SmackDown tag titles earlier that night. We got that that was an amazing photo with all of them with the championships. I was very happy to see that. But I'm gonna stick with Kevin Owens, bro. I'm gonna stay with the Kevin Owens Kofi match. Now, see, you making me wish I would have picked that triple threat, but I think that at this point, the Owens thing was the next best thing. You could debate that with the Bryan thing, but I'm gonna stay with Kevin Owens and Kofi.
I prefer the Owens match to the Joe match as well. The Joe match is short. Love my short matches. It was a lot of just like Joe beating him and then Kofi finding a way to win, which is fine.
Yeah.
But yeah, Joe in this case, like the Brock match, is great. Joe didn't have like some of the style stuff was good, but Joe didn't have like too many like standout killer matches during his WWE run. By this point he was just older, a little bit slower. I mean, he's 43 now.
He had some bangers with Nakamura in NXT.
He
had a couple bangers.
Yeah, like when he first came to NXT, that stuff was fun. But like main roster Joe, they're just saying a whole lot of like match you can pinpoint and be like, hey, go out of your way to check out this Samoa Joe match. Like it's just not there. And we're kind of seeing it in 2022. Like some of the matches, like they've been fine, but it hasn't been like this peak kind of Samoa Joe that we're used to. And it happens. Guys get older, guys get miles on their body, and they just don't move and wrestle like they used to. They got to pull up their shorts every 2 seconds against Karrion Kross and that terrible match.
Hey, Jeremy, I wanted to ask you, like, real quick, just off topic, like, what do you think? I'm pretty sure you've seen it, but like, what do you think about like some people saying that like AJ Styles isn't what he used to be, like even 2017, 20, like I see a lot of people saying that he isn't like performing the way that he used to. Like, what do you sort of chalk that up to, or do you even like are in line with that type of thinking in terms of like, or opinion, I should say, in terms of like that AJ isn't performing how he used to? Do you think there is like a decline that you've seen?
I think he's definitely slowed down a little bit. And this is just a thing of like, a lot of these guys are going to slow down. That's just sort of what happens when you get older. And when you think of AJ, like he had great matches early on in his WWE run. It has been a while since he's had like a really, really like standout kind of match. Yeah. When I think of AJ, I think of the TNA run at early 2005, just the classic matches he was putting on during that. Like that's an all-time run. Garrett Kidney and I did like reviewed some AJ Styles singles matches, and like 5 of them were from just 2005, and we had to leave out some because they weren't all singles matches. Like the Ultimate X match was what my favorite Ultimate X match ever with PD and Sabin. He's lost a step. It happens as you get older. There is the WWE style, which I know now Triple H is kind of revamping a little bit, and guys are allowed a little bit more freedom out there, but it is just a different style. It's not quite as hard hitting. And AJ was a guy who'd go out there and he'd punch in the mouth a little bit, and he doesn't do that as much nowadays. But AJ Styles is still one of the better performers in professional wrestling. He's a more polished and a more television performer than he used to.
That's a good way to describe it. That is a good way to describe it. He more television-esque, WWE-esque. I mean, like I figured like with AJ, it was gonna happen at some point. Like he was gonna like morph into like a more like that WWE style that we've seen a lot of talents come in and get used to. Like I think one of the more common examples a lot of people use is Shinsuke Nakamura. Like he's like morphed into that like WWE television wrestler, and he's good and he can turn it up when you need him to, but like you don't really see it as much as you would like to. But like I think that's a good way to describe AJ Styles, like what he is currently. Like I think there will come a point where AJ is going to have like another banger. It just got to be. I think it got to be like the right story that like makes like has to like entice him to like want to like just go out there and like just fucking throw his body to the wall and like anything and everything. So yeah, that was a good way to describe that. I like that.
All right, so you've got the Kevin Owens match moving on.
Still with that.
All right, so we go to Smackville, and we have Kofi against Ziggler and Samoa Joe against the Kevin Owens at Money in the Bank. Which you prefer?
The Smackville. This was I'm gonna stick with the Kevin Owens match, but the Smackville. This was a network special, and this is in Nashville.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, and I remember like it wasn't like this. It wasn't that much of anything. Like it was like just a, like the term like a glorified house show. It's a network special, and you had of course Dolph Ziggler, Mr. It Should Have Been Me, and then I think he just came off the thing with Samoa Joe, or he was still in the thing with Samoa Joe. So it was just something to throw in a card. But I don't remember there being anything special about this at all. Like it was just a match that happened. But I'm gonna stick with Kevin Owens and Kofi at Money in the Bank.
They just kind of threw this match together because Kofi had just wrestled Ziggler in the previous program, then he just wrestled Joe in the last match. Again, not a lot of drama of who was going to win. Ziggler had just gotten beat in like 5 seconds by Owens at Extreme Rules. Like it was like stunner pin. Like that was the whole match. So this match didn't make a ton of sense, but because it was one of just a sort of throwaway little network specials,
Yeah.
I didn't mind this match. There was no drama as like who was gonna win or anything. You knew Kofi was gonna end up retaining, but it's like 12 minutes. It's not a bad match. It's a nice little 12-minute just sort of house show main event. I like the Owens match just because the stakes felt a little bit higher over this one. But like, if you just got 12 minutes to spare and you just want to throw on some easy viewing wrestling, go back and watch this little Smackville match. I think Shinsuke and Ali had a match on this show as well. It's a short little show that you can just throw on, and there's nothing inconsequential in it. If you want to kill like an hour or two, I really think it's only an hour long special. All right, so the Kevin Owens match moves on. We go into the big program with Randall Orton, and we go to SummerSlam 2019. This was the double countout match at SummerSlam between Kofi and Orton. Do you like this one, or is Kevin Owens? Is it going to continue its run here from Money in the Bank?
Bro, So I know that Kofi and Orton had another match at the following pay-per-view, I believe it was in your old stomping grounds down there in North Kakalaki, I believe. Yes. I think that was 2019. But yeah, this SummerSlam match, like I think that, like I think I had said it earlier, this was the best feud in terms of like story and background wise. Like I really wish that WWE, they didn't feel like in order for a feud to continue that you need to have some type of like, fuck finish, or it got to be a double count out, or somebody got to do something stupid. Like I like you can still build your opponent up in a way that keeps them strong, and you can still keep your champion strong by giving them a decisive win. I feel like both you can do both of those things. It just depends on how you do it. You could have just did something as simple as like Kofi catching Orton in like one of those like slick roll-ups, or like one of those deep pins or something like that, where it's like, okay, yeah, he got me, he caught me, but let's see what happens when we run it back and do something a little bit more decisive, like how they did in the last in that Clash of the Champions match. But I'm gonna say, but I'm gonna stick with the Kofi Kevin Owens match, and the only reason I'm gonna say that is because like if they would have just capped this off, and not necessarily in the feud, but just gave me a very decisive finish, like I would have been like, okay, this is it. Like I don't think that Kofi and Orton was going to go out and put on like some some classic match, but like I feel like they had a great story, and that great story really carried, really sort of carried the gist of the feud, and it made a lot of sense. And I was really looking forward to the Kofi Orton match, and I like a lot of the some of the stuff they did, with Orton. I think it was Kofi when he was calling Orton stupid or something like that. Yeah. Like that was real cool. I really like that little callback to what they was doing, especially like that real life aspect to it that happened, all those years back. So yeah, and I'm gonna stick with the Kevin Owens and Kofi match. But I'm just saying I might switch it when we get to that next pay-per-view, the next time of defense.
The Orton feud made all the sense in the world on paper, given their history and everything. Yeah. And this like felt like for the first time a real big feud during Kofi's reign. Like the own stuff wasn't bad. The New Day turn and everything, like that wasn't bad. The Ziggler stuff was complete throwaway. Joe was a little short. But this felt like it really had some meat on it. And there is nothing worse than sitting through like an 18-minute match just to get a bullshit finish. Yeah. Like if you're gonna do a bullshit finish, give it to me after like 5 minutes to where I'm not invested in the match all that much. It's like, all right, fine, 5 minutes, sure. 18 minutes, and then Orton threatens Kofi's kids, and Kofi snaps and beats him up. And we just saw this with Joe and AJ the previous year. It was such lazy booking on there. Like it just so lazy of booking. It felt flat. The crowd was chanting bullshit forever. Like it was just very flat given the build up to everything. And it felt like you got to give us something decisive. Even if Kofi just escapes by the skin of his teeth, like, okay, cool. like, just don't give me this long of a match and do a bullshit finish off of it. Just
Yeah.
don't do it. And that's what they did here. Just
With Kofi's title reigns, like I I'm like looking like and thinking back on it, like, but it feels like he never had like some like they weren't, he wasn't like giving opponents who like he could go out there and like just tear that shit down with. It felt like he had people there who could get him to a good match, but it never felt like he had that person opposite of him who was going to like just give him like this, you know what I'm saying? Like this thing that was going to have people just going crazy. And like I hate to say it, like keep going back on it. I'm telling you, Mustafa Ali was the guy that was going to give Kofi that banger. I'm telling you, I know it for sure that was going to happen. But like what you were saying, like I had that had slipped my mind when the people was like they was going against the match, they wasn't feeling it, especially at the end, you know, with the double count out. Like I'm never a big fan of like these world title matches ending in situations like that, especially when you have like a good build to it, because I feel like you sort of killing the goodwill that the fans have and being invested in the match. And like even when I look at this SummerSlam card, like it's so many like good things that happen on this show and great matches that happen on this show from what I remember. Like even I'm looking at this. I know Seth and Brock was a banger. I remember that when they was
yes.
I think Seth or Brock or somebody was like selling some like hand injury or something like that, and like it was a great match from what I remember. You had the Fiend debut right after this, like that was great when he squashed Balor. I think Bayley and Amber was okay. I remember that sort of not really living up to a lot of people's expectations, but it was good. AJ Ricochet, I remember that being a banger. You had Goldberg and Ziggler, which was good. Goldberg fucking redeemed himself. You know what I'm saying, from that match he had with Taker. But it was some good stuff on this card, bro. And I just feel like with Kofi, I feel like they had great intentions with like putting him in these feuds where it was a lot of people who could carry a story, but not necessarily give Kofi the sort of banger match that a lot of people need to go along with that good story, if that makes sense.
I mean, I'm with you. I think the Orton stuff was the best stuff as far as like the story, but Randy at this time just he didn't, I don't know if he wasn't motivated or what it was, but he was there and he was just having matches and that was kind of it. I don't like fully recall Randy Orton's 2019, but it didn't seem like he was on like a ton of stuff before. I think he might have actually had an injury or something during this time. Now I'm gonna have to look it up to try to recall what was going on. But Orton had the best story stuff. But yeah, Orton's never been known as this like high work rate guy that gets the 5-star matches and everything. Randy Orton is a very professional worker, and there is nothing wrong with that. But Kofi is a guy who can pick it up a little bit in the ring, and Orton wasn't going to kind of get in that gear with Kofi. And so you needed the story to carry things. They had the story to carry it, but this is going to lead us to our next match at Clash of the Champions. And this is one that I kind of put on Orton. So we got Clash of the Champions against Orton or Kevin Owens, Money in the Bank. This is it, Andrew. Which one is the defining match of Kofi's title run? And I hate to say it, we're looking at underwhelming stuff here.
Yeah, but it's like really, like, again, just to sort of repeat what I said, like I really feel like they put Kofi in a position where he could be in a story with people who could, like, they could tell a good television story and get to that pay-per-view point, and like they could make it interesting and make it engaging. Like you got people like Samoa Joe, everybody know how great Joe is on the mic, Kevin Owens, Ziggler, that is what it is. Randy, again, best one. Like I'm looking at it, like I don't like remember too much about this Orton Kofi match. Like I see it went long, it went 20 minutes. And like I remember like a lot of the stuff that happened on this show, which is like very, very weird. And I hate that I should have went back and watched it. And I hate that I remember a lot of the stuff. I'm looking at the card, bro, and I remember so much of what happened on this show. Like I didn't even think this is a show when Brody Lee came back and he he attacked Roman Reigns and helped Rowan or something like that. And I remember Sasha. This is the Sasha and Becky, but bro. All right, so I know we get into a whole other thing, but Sasha should have beat Becky in one of these matches, though. Like she should have won one of these matches, like or the next one they had at I think it was the next one they had at Hell in a Cell. But yeah, I don't remember too much about this Kofi Orton match, but I do remember that I remember thinking that this was better than the SummerSlam match, and I think that was primarily because we got a decisive finish to it, and Kofi came out as champion, and he got the win. So I'm gonna say because of the story, the overall culmination of the story, I'm gonna say that the Orton Kofi match at Clash of Champions is the defining highlight of Kofi's run. And I'm gonna say the Owens. I'm gonna say the Kofi Orton Clash of the Champions match. That's 1A, and then Owens and Kofi. That's 1B. I'm gonna say that. Somebody's honking their horn outside. I don't know what's going on. I don't know if you can hear that.
They're supporting your decision of Kofi and Orton. They're cheering for it.
Yeah, but yeah, I don't know that like that. That's like distracting me. I don't know what the hell's going on. But yeah, I'm gonna say the Kofi Orton match at Clash of Champions. That's the defining highlight of Kofi's WWE title run. And I think on this night, this is when New Day lost the titles to the Revival or the FTR, and this was the beginning of the end for the New Day. So I was here we go. Well, not the beginning, because we had Big E get his moment back in 2021 when he won the WWE title. So I'm not gonna say the beginning then, but I'm talking about for this stretch, it got very dark times, Jeremy. Very dark times, because I'm pretty sure you about to get into the next what happened right after this.
Well, real quickly on Kofi and Orton from Clash of Champions, I'm not going to recommend anybody go back and rewatch this. It's 20 minutes. It's a little outside of my match wheelhouse, unless it's a great match. And this is not really a great match. For a feud that, is supposed to be really personal and Orton threatening kids and everything, this match like really lacked that intensity you would hope to see. And in followed a Sasha Becky match, from what I remember, they like kind of did have that intensity. Yeah. And this is again where I just kind of put on Orton of like, he was just going to work a Randy Orton pace and style match. And in this moment, he needed to pick it up a little bit, and he didn't. And I thought that was a detriment to the match. And that's why this match isn't bad, but yeah, 20 minutes, it could have just been better. And it didn't feel like they were working the match that went along with the story. It just felt like they were working a regular match, but it had nothing to do with what the actual buildup was. I actually prefer the Kevin Owens match. Like looking back at this now, I feel bad. I feel so bad for Kofi Kingston because the start of this was so great with the Daniel Bryan match and in that moment and everything. And then his title reign, the Orton feud was good. And I think the story was good. The story was good. And that's why, like, I understand why you'd be like, yeah, Clash of Champions is sort of the defining match and the title reign, because the Orton story is by far the defining story in the title reign. But
the match,
as far as like the match goes, I kind of think the triple threat with AJ and Sammy is like the best match of just like, hey, I can throw this on, watch it. And like, this is the actual match quality, the best match of it. And that's a very throwaway match because he didn't have a singles match against either of these guys, which I guess is sort of fitting of this match is the defining match. And it's like, it's kind of just an underwhelming throwaway match. And no offense to Kofi's reign, but the reign itself felt throwaway because we got the big moment to start and then we got the moment to end. And that's what people remember of Kofi Kingston's reign, is the very start of it and how happy everyone was, and the very end of it and how terrible it was and how mad everyone was. And the actual reign itself was just, it existed.
But I feel like, especially at this time and like even before that, I think that in terms of like Vince's booking, like he always had an issue with booking baby faces in a very strong manner that didn't make them feel like they were like less than their opposition. Like I feel like he did that like with a lot of people, and there were some people who he did decent jobs with, or okay jobs, or even great jobs with, in terms of like that. Well, I'm not gonna say a lot of people, but there were some people, like I even think about Seth Rollins' Intercontinental title run from 2018, but he was just having nothing but bangers, like most of the stuff that Rollins did that year when he was on that IC title run, and then they treated him really great as a baby face. And like I just think that, like, just to repeat what I said earlier, I think it just came down to Kofi being in a position where he was against guys who could really help him tell a great story, or just, even if it was short term, it could help him get to that point in terms of like verbalizing to the audience and verbalizing to people watching at home and stuff, in terms of just making sure that they get invested into the story. But like at the end of the day, you gotta deliver in ring. You know what I'm saying? Like, cause that's what, I mean, to me personally, that's what matters the most, is what you deliver in the ring. Like, it could be a good story, definitely could be a good story, but for my personal preference, I want to see a great story, and I want to see you go out there and have a banger too. And I just feel like they never really put Kofi in there with somebody who could follow up on their end. And I also think it was like a chemistry thing, but like most of these guys, like I think that was like one of the more, I would say Ziggler is probably one of the more shocking ones, because like normally people think it's Dolph Ziggler, and even me think it's Dolph Ziggler. It's like you could throw him in with anybody and he'll make it work. And like it was just something about him and Kofi's thing, it didn't click. And I think that was primarily because I just wasn't invested in much of anything that they were doing, and that was more so on how they was presenting Ziggler at that time. And I just was not involved, because when he came back when he came back for the Saudi match, Ziggler had been on TV for a little bit, right? If I'm remembering correct.
Okay, yeah. TV for a while.
Yeah, he had been on TV. So like, even though he was gone for that period of time, like it's like I just was not invested in Dolph Ziggler at all. When I look at the Kevin Owens one, I think that was really good in terms of the story. Like I remember that match, and like it was okay. And then like we just talked about with the Randy thing, the story was great. Matches were not that great. Not necessarily something that people will like go back and like, oh, I gotta watch this. And it's kind of sad, because like you said, I do feel like that's gonna be the like the shining thing, or the standout thing about Kofi's title run, is that the moment when it happened was great. The build up to it was fantastic in terms of like getting there to the WrestleMania 35, and then all people think about, like everything else is sort of like blocked out, and then you just remember how we got here, the big moment, and then of course how it ended, which was something. Looking at all these years back,
like the I don't know if it's the worst booking decision ever. It's
up there.
It's very up there. Yes, because you know what? I was actually very much looking forward to this match between him and Brock. It seemed obvious Brock. Yeah. It seemed obvious Brock was going to win, right? Yes, like it's fine if Brock wins. I get it.
Hey, John, real quick. You go ahead. My bad, bro.
Just the way they did it was okay. It made everything feel pointless with Kofi's reign. And why didn't they give this guy any type of a chance in this match? Because we've seen Brock have great matches against smaller guys, the AJ matches, the Bryan matches, Finn, Kofi just bumping around, but having those little hope spots and everything. Like, you could tell, great story. And instead it was just one and done.
When I say I have said this on so like many podcasts, dog, like I like drive that shit up a wall. How many times I've like said like that exact same thing. Like I like it's like burned in my brain, even like how I said these things. Like when I initially, I remember when I first saw that match graphic about Kofi defending the title against Brock. I remember the first thing came out, I was like, oh, that's it. Like that's you know what I'm saying? Like that was like the first thing that came to my head when I saw it. I was like, oh, that's, you know, it's over, bro. You know what I'm saying? It's over. Like I just knowing how they view Brock, and how I should say how Vince views Brock, and how a lot of people view Brock. Like I just knew that like it was a wrap. You know what I'm saying? Like I was hoping that it was gonna be like that AJ 2017 Survivor Series match, like it was gonna be Bryan, like it was gonna be Ray at Survivor Series 2018. I believe that was 2018, Survivor Series 2018, when Dominic got involved. I was hoping it was gonna be like Balor at the Rumble. You know what I'm saying? I was hoping it was gonna be something along those lines. Like even like when I think back at all these matches, bro, that you was just talking about, like even the AJ Survivor Series 2017 match, I remember AJ hit the phenomenal forearm, then he had the calf crusher, and like there was like that brief moment where you thought that there was a chance that he was going to beat Brock. And then going back to the Bryan match when he gave, I'm pretty sure everybody remembers this. Like you see the clip like every 2 weeks, every 2 weeks, every 2 weeks on Twitter when he gave him the low blow and the running knee. And like I remember that, pretty sure just like you, Jeremy, you thought that there was a chance that he was going to beat Brock, especially considering that I think Bryan had just won the title like a week before that. So like you didn't think that they was going to do Bryan like that, especially in the midst of that. His what we were going to know as the beginning of his heel run when Balor, I remember when Balor at the Rumble 2019 when he pushed Brock into the announce table, and I remember Brock had some type of he has like a real life, like what was it? It was like
the diverticulitis.
Diverticulitis, and that was like a real thing, and they were like bigging that up in the match and stuff like that. And like he got back in the ring, went up for the coup de grace, and like there was that moment where you thought that he was gonna win. Same thing with Ray when he faced Ray, when Dominic came in and hit the double 619 and the double splash. Well, I'm gonna be. I didn't think he was gonna beat Brock, but like there was like that little thing where it was like he might do it. You know what I'm saying? Like he might do. They might pull the trigger and they might have another way to go with this. Like I just don't get. What do you get out of it? But it's not like we haven't seen Brock vulnerable before against smaller talents. Like this is not some new thing that we like. We've never seen Brock weak before and all this type of stuff. I felt like they just like any excuse that I've heard as to why they sort of went that route like does not hold up and does not make any sense. Because like you could have treated Kofi the exact same way that you treated each of those individuals that we just named, or even that small individuals, bigger opponents. You could have treated them the exact same way how you could have treated Kofi the exact same way how you treated them. And like even looking back on it now, bro, it's still one of the most baffling booking decisions, and the way that they like sort of threw Kofi to the wayside after that. Cain Velasquez, which was not good at all. Like they like and it was pointless because, bro, wasn't Cain gone like not too long after that? Like I remember him doing the thing.
He did like the one match. He did the one match against Brock, and I don't think he did anything.
And that was it
after that. Yeah,
but I remember him saying in the interview that he was going to be in the Rumble.
Yeah.
And but I don't think like he was supposed to say that or something like that. I don't think that was like something that he was supposed to bring up or whatever that situation was. But like Cain was gone after that. Like I like that. I think he did the one Brock match like you said, and then that was it. So and I know people like I remember I saw one tweet with somebody was like, well, he kind of got his moment. I think it was at the 2020 Rumble. When Brock was like running through everybody, as I think he was WWE champion at the time or something like that. Yeah, and he was like running through everybody, and like I remember Kofi came out and Big E came out, and like they was doing a whole thing with them and that type of stuff. But like, that's not. But I mean that's the Rumble and all, and it's cool, but it's not what people wanted. Like I wanted to see, like I'm pretty sure you remember, bro. You remember when they was like sort of teasing. Like Kofi sort of showing like this new type of aggression, like when he was like
there's
like
your internet cut for a second. I think you were saying when he squashed the pancake when Brock Lesnar had been mentioned in a backstage segment. And yes, that was when it seemed like they were going with a new aggression on Kofi and going to like the Rumble. It's like they had this moment, but then they all just got tossed by Brock anyway. So what did the moment really do if Brock is still going to toss them out of the ring? No, there was really no moment.
But like
he never got. Go ahead.
You go ahead, Jeremy. I think my thing was lagging for a little bit. I caught up though.
Oh, I was just saying, like there was no actual moment of revenge for Kofi. It was just, hey, it happened, and then Kofi was just tag team guy again.
Yeah,
and it was very unfortunate. And yeah, like I was saying, I don't mind that Brock won. I think we all expected Brock to win when we saw the graphic and everything, but to just jump F5 over why treat it like that? Like give him the same treatment you gave everybody else that was kind of in this position against Brock, of do the underdog babyface thing and give him his hope spots. And then, okay, he loses, But to do him like that in that match, and then the follow up be what it was, it made everything just feel. Kofi Mania is still one of the greatest moments ever. The title reign was underwhelming. At least if he could have had that fighting champion match against Brock, it would have been like, all right, the reign was underwhelming, but he showed out against Brock. Like that was good. And maybe, he would have looked better in the eyes of management of like, he had this great match against Brock. Like, maybe we can continue and there's still something there with him. We can keep doing something. You never gave him that chance because of the way you did him with Brock. And again, if it's not the most baffling booking decision in history, it's certainly
something. Yeah. And bro, Kofi didn't get another shot at the title until Money in the Bank 2021, right?
Was that could have been his next match? Yeah, but I know he didn't face Brock that soon.
Yeah, he didn't get Brock, but like I remember, like I think it was against Lashley at the Money in the Bank 2021,
right?
Wasn't it?
Yes,
when Lashley was still champion. Yep, I think that was the next time that Kofi got a title shot. So that was a whole almost 2 years later. But it's so crazy, like thinking back on that time and like how I had like these like super high expectations for this title run that he was going to have. Like I thought that this was about to be like one of the best things of Kofi's career, like especially coming off the big title win, and it started off decent, man. We got the stuff with Brian, and I personally enjoyed the stuff with Kevin Owens, that story that they told in the match was okay and stuff like that. And then like it sort of like from there it felt like, but like I hate to keep harping back on this, bro, but I really feel like if you remove Dolph out of the scenario, you slap Ali in with the story that was there, I feel like I feel like the beginning part of it would have been it would have been more memorable extension wise. Like you would have like a greater memory, like fonder memory of Kofi's beginning title run, because like it felt like just once the Ziggler stuff happened, it just went like and like from a booking standpoint, but it felt like they were just trying to get to the next thing with Kofi. Like it felt like they just, okay, we got point A, let's hurry up, get this done. Point B, let's hurry up and get this done. Point C, which is Randy Orton. Okay, we got some meat on the bone to this thing, but we need to just extend this for a little bit. And like, bro, I don't know why, bro, but like I feel like one day it's gonna be like some interview or something like that. Somebody gonna reveal that like when was the moment that like Vince McMahon like fucking decided that he was gonna take the title off Kofi or some shit like that. But I kind of felt like they sort of like not gave up on him, but like I don't it just felt like they kind of treated Kofi as like he was like a placeholder champion, and like he was just a guy that was like just getting them to the next point. And like I'm not even gonna give Vince no damn credit for booking anything long term. I'm gonna say that he was just like they just treated Kofi like as a day by day champion. Like it's like, okay, he'll hold the belt, and then we'll figure that shit out as we go. And like the rest of it, like and then once Brock came along in the picture and they finally decided on that, it was like, okay, that's the guy that we're going with. So when I look at Kofi's title reign, like looking at it, bro, it is kind of sad, like thinking about like how great the moment was that him winning the title to lead up to it, and like what the reign turned out to be. And like even now, bro, like it's crazy because like when you see, well, I'm gonna say like I'm gonna say like outside of Jinder Mahal, like when you see these guys who were former WWE champions, like Kofi feels like he feels like he was a former WWE champion, bro, but they just, I don't know, they just sort of treat him like just like any other person. Like
it almost doesn't feel like he's a former WWE champion.
But I'm about to say, bro, and even now, bro, they doing the Royal Rumble stuff with him again. Like Kofi's the Rumble guy. Like, I'm like, why y'all keep doing this to this man? Bro? Like I stuff is cool, but like, bro, I feel like you can get so much more out of Kofi. Like I don't know present day if that's still an option. Like I'm talking about like just in terms of like a general consensus, but like I've always been in the belief that you can make people care about anybody. You just got to make the story worth it, or you got to make the person interesting enough for people to want to care about said individual. And I don't know, but I just feel like Kofi's, like his presentation over the last several years, like I feel like they've done some okay stuff with him, but like for the most part, it kind of feels like he's like, I'm not gonna say he's like not appreciated, but it does feel like just looking at that title run and the way that it was handled, it just felt like they just sort of treated him like, okay, like he's just the champion for now. Like just let him hold the title until we figure out like what our next move is. And then once they figured out what that first move was, they took that shot immediately and did this shit as quickly as possible to get the title off this dude. So, but yeah, when you talk about Kofi, bro, I think Kofi one of the greatest of all time in terms of WWE. Like, look at the stuff he's done, like the careers. He had a great fucking career, having a great career. So like, I think that there is a point where he can challenge for a world title again. In terms of winning it, I just think that depends on the story and like you can get the right build into it. But I would personally like to see Kofi get slided back into that main event scene in a way, because I remember like after that, like he just went back to being like a tag team wrestler. And like he just went back to like what he was doing like prior to the title run. Like I would have really enjoyed like if they, bro, just because you're not champion anymore doesn't mean that you can't be sliding into the main event. You still can't be within that mix, within, you know, with the AJs, with the, you know, whoever was around in the main event scene at that time. That just because you're not the champion anymore doesn't mean that you still can't be in like those number one contender matches or those gauntlet matches. You know what I'm saying? Because that's where you want to see the sort of the top flight women and men in their respective divisions go at it. You know what I'm saying? Like, and I feel like they never really treated Kofi in that manner. They was like, okay, title run over. Thank you, Kofi, but it's time to go back to the New Day. You know what I'm saying? And this, and that was it. That was literally it. And then he has stayed in that position, and I think he stayed in that position until Money in the Bank last year, and that was the ultimate, you know, the setup to Big E winning the title, which was another great moment. And look at that. His reign sort of turned out the exact same way. Look at that. That's something about the booking New Day, bro, and them being able to be champion. I'm telling you, like it's really crazy how E's run was like literally the same as Kofi's run in a way, but except for the fact that they was having Big E fucking lose on TV and he was losing on pay-per-views. It's like I'm talking losing to Roman and stuff like that. You know what I'm saying? Like it's so crazy, bro. Like how both of them had these great moments, and then like the run was just not good at all. Like I mean, they had their moments when it was like it was halfway decent and it was good, but like the only thing you remember from it is the moment that it happened in terms of like fond memories. So yeah, I know I just got on my soapbox just now, and I feel like I just took us like 20 minutes, but like, bro, it's so crazy to think about like when you just ran down that list, and you even reminded me of some like some stuff that I had forgot about, like especially that AJ Sammy match. Like as we was talking about it, it started like coming back to me because I didn't remember it. So yeah, like I think that was a shining moment. Like maybe, but you know what would have been cool, bro, if Kofi and AJ could have
Kofi and
did
AJ
something.
would have been really good because AJ was he had that the match with Orton at WrestleMania where
Yeah.
nobody could see it. Like, but that would have been a good feud. I wouldn't even mind something with Sammy. Like Sammy was doing good work at this time as well. Like that, I think that would have been fine. You mentioned Kofi being like underappreciated overall. I don't know if this is a hot take, but I think New Day overall is underappreciated in the scope of WWE. And I know they've named them like the greatest faction of all time a couple years ago, whatever. And like they have all the accolades and everything. I think they could have done so much more with them, like as singles guys, than that actually happened. The fact that it took Xavier Woods however many years to get the King of the Ring, and they gave it to him, and then they didn't really do a whole lot, and then it just came fodder for Roman Reigns, and now you don't even remember that he was King of the Ring. You mentioned the title reigns of Kofi, the title reigns of E. It's like right after they were over, hey, now you're just back to New Day kind of thing. Like I think as a group, they're obviously very appreciated. As like singles guys, very underappreciated because
they're great wrestlers, bro. And they're good.
Yeah.
They're great wrestlers, bro. Like
They're
every
great
single last one.
entertainers. Like
Yeah, they are.
they're very good wrestlers. Like, but as far as like an entertainment factor, the shit they've had to take over the years and like make it mean something and turn it into like just a memorable segment. The Big E has said this before, and I'm sure the Kofi and Woods and Usos said it. You remember the rap battle segment with those two? It's like that could have died a huge death, huge death. And then Biggie has said like I came backstage and Brian's like, that could have been the whole show. That was great. Like that was just top tier entertainment. Like they have taken just so much stuff that just should have died. And some of it didn't get over too well, but 9 out of 10 times they've elevated everything they have done. And they could have been doing this as singles guys as well. And like they could have been just doing more as singles guys. And the fact that they got their moments as singles guys, but the fact that it's like not remembered or it was just cast away and you don't remember that Kofi Kingston is a former champion and doesn't feel like he's treated as such is kind of a shame.
Yeah, but hey, John, what was that? I don't know if I'm remembering this correctly, but was it King of the Ring tournament when like in the brackets, like Kofi and Woods, like they it looked like they was gonna face each other, and then they just went like a completely other route, and I was like, what are you doing? Like that's a great story right there, bro. And like I even remember, I hope I'm remembering this right. I think it was 2018, when the U.S. title was vacant, and they were doing like a tournament, and I think Robert Roode run it. And I want to say Xavier Woods was in that tournament. I think he was with Jinder Mahal and like somebody else, if I'm remembering that correctly. And like I know a lot of people were like sort of clamoring for Woods, man. They was like, yeah, like let's get some U.S. title for Xavier Woods. Let's roll behind Xavier Woods, and then they went the route that they went. But like it always feels like with like just to piggyback on what you said in terms of the group. They're a great group, and I think they're heralded as one of the greatest factions, 3-man groups in the history of WWE. But like in terms of singles, like I gotta agree with you. Like it feels like they are very, very underappreciated, and especially, bro, for real, bro. Xavier Woods is I'm not gonna say he's the most underappreciated within New Day, but I'm gonna say just strictly with in-ring work. I feel like Xavier Woods has shown plenty of times, bro, that he can go if you just let him go, like you let him do his thing. Like he had a he had a Hell in a Cell match, I think against against Bobby Lashley?
Yeah,
on Raw. But and it was really fucking good. Like Wood, like when you put Woods, like you go back and look at Woods' high profile singles matches or main event singles matches, bro, he always delivers and he never falls short. No matter who he's in the ring with, like he can go. And like I always felt like Woods is probably like one of the most underappreciated wrestlers, like just pure in-ring work, like within the New Day and sort of on the WWE roster. I feel like because he don't really get the chance to like show that, like, because he's always been within the group. And I'm pretty sure he ain't gonna complain about that. But like, I don't know. I feel like Wood's never been in the Continental U.S. champion, has he?
No, I don't believe so.
Yeah. So, but
I can't remember if he has. I cannot remember.
I don't remember it right.
Yeah, I'm looking it up, and no, he hasn't. It's always been tag team stuff for him.
But it's crazy that Woods has never had one of those titles, like one of those Intercontinental. Because I think that would have been a great run. But and Jeremy, you want to know what's the craziest thing about Kofi's title run, Brett? Is like, I know a lot of people would be like, well, why would you do that? Or like, how would you even get to that point? Bro, the fact that we never got Kofi being like, I sort of get both sides of like the argument of like, why would you even want to do this? Because it could like its storyline cause a rift between the group, like, and it would make sense to go that route. But like, I always wanted to see Kofi being like, you know what, bro, I got the WWE title. Let me go ahead and give my guys a shot. Let's do a triple threat. Me, E, and Woods. You know what I'm saying? Like, and bro, I think just because of the way that simply that time and for a long time in WWE with how they book, it's like anybody who's a tag team wrestler, and whenever you face a member of your tag team, they got to be some type of blood feud, and somebody got to hate the next person, and they gotta, you know what I'm saying? Like, and even in comparison, like I know a lot of people not really big on NXT 2.0, or NXT whatever it is now, this new version of NXT, but I sort of like what they're doing with Braun and Apollo. Cause like, bro, everything doesn't have to be like this, motherfucker, I hate you. You know, I hope I want to snap your neck. You know what I'm saying? Everything don't gotta be like that, bro. It could just be two people who got mutual respect for each other, and they gonna go at it when it's time to go at it. You know what I'm saying? Like, but I want to win the title. And like it's not like the best example. Like the Fisher stuff, I'm like, okay, but like, what are we doing? Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, it's not the best stuff, but I'm talking about just like the premise of it, like the middle, the thick of it. Like, I like that. It doesn't have to be like this blood thing. Now, do I prefer that? Yes, but I like the diversity within the storylines that it shows that everything doesn't have to be A, B, and C. You can mix in F, G, H, Y. You know what I'm saying? You could do a whole bunch of other different stuff. And I always felt like with Kofi was and E, you could have went that route and spared me another Dolph Ziggler match. And you could have just been like, hey, Kofi just being like, you know what? I got the title right now. I don't know if I'm going to win it again. I want to make sure that I get my guys the opportunity to win. Now, who you have take the L in that match? Glad I don't have to debate that because we just talk hypotheticals. So like I don't got to make that choice. But like I always felt like they could have did something. You got the Shield triple threat. You know what I'm saying? We got the one at what was that, Battleground 2016 when it was Roman Reigns and Seth and Mox. And I think I was at that show in DC. And yeah, like I always felt like you could have did something like that with Kofi Woods and E. And I think a lot of people would have been invested in that, bro, just to see them have a triple threat for the title, and you build it up right and you tell the right story and make it competitive. Keep it within the friendship aspect of New Day, but man, make it known that each of them, including Kofi, wants to be champion, and they're willing to do whatever it takes to be champion, but also keeping their friendship intact. And that can sort of play into the finish of the match where maybe one doesn't want to do this to the other or something like that. Like I always felt like you could have went that route, but it's sort of sad that we sort of fantasy booking stuff right now that probably would have been way better than the shit that they did.
We got to have another Dolph Ziggler match, Andrew. That's what we got to have, another Dolph Ziggler match. And you're right about the New Day triple threat. They've talked about it before of like, oh, we don't know if we want to do it.
Oh yeah.
Like if we do it, like it might just be like, I'm going to put him in a headlock and he's going to tickle me in type of thing. It's like, I don't know if people want to watch that, but like you can book stuff about just mutual respect. Like that's part of sports, right? Like that's part of NBA games, the Super Bowl, whatever it might be. Like there's not always this big rivalry of like, I hate that other team. It's like, you know, I like a lot of guys on the other team, but like I'm going to try to win this game. Okay. Like we see it in fights all the time. Like, you know, sometimes two fighters respect each other, but it's like, you know what, I'm going to try to go out there and win this championship. And you can book it of a way of it can just be about a competitive aspect of things. You really don't even have to do like, oh man, he was afraid to do that because he didn't want to cost them his friendship or anything. You just go out there and just have three guys trying to win a match. And at the end of the day, someone wins a match. And then afterwards, it's like, you know what? On this day, you were the better man. You know, a year from now, let's see who, you know, if we're in this same position, one of us got a title, maybe I'll be the better man. And you could have ran it back at when Big E had the title and be like, you know what? 2 years ago, you were the better man, Kofi. Now I want to give you guys a shot. Let's see if you're still the better man 2 years later. And let's see what happens. Like you can do things like that, but there was no, you know, real foresight to obviously do something 2 years down the line because they can't think of anything to do 2 hours down the line.
Hey, Jeremy, you want to know what's crazy about what you just said about the Big E, like him, like flipping that role between Kofi, but I swear, I really feel like Kofi would have been like, let me take the pin. Like in that triple threat, like I don't know why, bro, but I just feel like Kofi would have been like, if we doing the triple threat, I'm taking the pin. Like I feel like he would have did that for E and also would have did that for Woods, like without hesitation, like for any of them. And I feel like that would have been a great thing to showcase, because even when you do that triple threat, bro, I feel like a lot of people they sort of write Woods off a little bit because he is the least accolade-wise accomplished of the group. In terms of like, because you know Kofi done, you know, U.S. titles, different tag titles with multiple different partners. One of my favorite Kofi tag title was him and CM Punk, just because that is fucking great. But in E NXT champ, but Big E was the second NXT champion, wasn't he? Because I know Seth Rollins was the first.
Seth is first. Yeah,
Seth is first. I think he was the second. I believe, because I know he beat Rollins, if I'm remembering that. That was a long ass time ago. I don't remember, bro. But yeah, E. Like I think that would have been like a real cool thing that they could have did. But yeah, going back to my point, I had sort of lost what I was saying. But I feel like people sort of write Woods off a little bit because he's the least accolade accomplished of the entire group. Like everybody has had these like moments, these big moments in terms of like winning singles championships. Like even when E won the title in the Thunderdome, when he had the whole roster come out and they had the pyro and all the confetti coming down, and that was a great moment for Big E when he won the title from Sami Zayn. Kofi had countless moments like that, big moments, and Woods hasn't really had that yet. He had the King of the Ring, but it's like it's not.
Which happened in Saudi as
we're
well.
having a South,
which,
you know what I'm saying, bro?
Yeah.
It's like it like I feel like Woods is due for like one of those big moments, bro. But I don't think that's gonna happen under the Triple H regime. I feel like Triple H, he has an affinity for people who were with him in NXT. Like he has like that bleeding heart for like a lot of like the Balords, the Owens, the Zayn's, the and rightfully so. I'm not saying like they don't deserve that, but I'm talking about like I feel like there are certain people on the roster, specifically Xavier Woods, who can give you something, and if you just give them the opportunity to do that, you will be surprised by what they can do.
Yeah, Woods is not only in the ring great, just on television great. His mind for just business overall is great. The stuff he's done with his gaming channel, all the different avenues he's created for himself or got involved in. Like Xavier Woods is legitimately one of the, I mean, I know the thing of he has the PhD and everything, but like legitimately just one of the smartest people in wrestling. And I would like to see them do more. I feel like we could fantasy book like just a ton of New Day stuff in not only now, but then hindsight of fantasy booking things. I've actually already just like thought of a bunch of ideas. Some type of show, a fantasy booking show. Andrew, any closing words on just the Kofi reign overall?
No, I think I probably said everything I wanted to say or needed to say about the title, man. I really did enjoy some of the points that you brought up, because you made me think about some stuff that I had forgotten about, and even like some points that needed to come back to my head and stuff like that. So I really enjoyed the whole conversation. And yeah, man, I feel like you can, like right now as I'm looking at it, bro, especially in this new regime, bro, I feel like we can at least get another IC title run or another US title run out of Kofi. Like in terms of a world title, I just like the story got to be there, and I feel like you can tell that story if the time is right. And it's, but like I just like, especially under this regime, bro, I just don't see that happening. But I definitely think that Kofi should get another singles title run, like whichever that may be. In terms of, I know we talking about Kofi, but like in terms of like the whole New Day, like I feel like me and you just had a great conversation about Xavier Woods, and I feel like he can give a lot more if he just given an opportunity. With E, bro, I don't know like what his status is, you know what I'm saying? Because I know he was very candid about like his injury and stuff like that, and how if it would have just been like 1 inch to the left or 1 something to the right, it could have been fatal, paralyzed possibly. You know what I'm saying? Like that's some rough shit to think about. I'm pretty sure wrestling is probably like the last thing on his mind right now. Like, dude probably just living his life. I know he's doing the campus rush tour stuff right now. But Jeremy, let me tell you something, bro. If Big E is good to go, this man is going to get one of the best reactions that we have probably seen in a long time. Now, I'm not saying better than anybody else's or nothing like that, but I'm talking about he's going to get an amazing reaction, bro. And I'm talking about this is going to be one of the biggest pops. If they, Jeremy, I swear, bro, if this man come back and they put this man in a tag team and they put this man in a US title or an Intercontinental title, bro, I don't want to see him nowhere but the world title picture, bro, the main event. Like, I don't want, like, even if you don't want to throw him in there right off the bat, I want to see Big E where he belongs, bro, in the main event scene, like in that area, wrestling the big dogs. You know what I'm saying? He's one of them. Like, I just hope that if he does come back, they don't just treat this dude like he's just, oh yeah, he's back with the New Day. And I love New Day. I love New Day, bro. I love them as a group. I think what they do is great. You know what's crazy about New Day? For people that wrestle, people that is a trios, they don't do a lot of trios matches. Like that shit is crazy to me. Like they are a 6-man group who don't wrestle a lot of 6-man tag matches, which is insane. Bro, if E comes back, bro, and they treat this dude like he's just like another person, bro, I'ma spaz out. They need to treat this dude like he is the biggest fucking deal. I want them, and I'm predicting this right now. I want them to treat Biggie how they going to treat Cody when he get back, because I know Cody. Well, I would hope, just for booking standpoint, and that they would treat Cody like, you know, Cody, young Rose, man. Let him go do his thing. But yeah, man. Like when I'm looking at New Day, definitely one of the greatest factions in terms of WWE. If you could certainly debate maybe the greatest faction. Me personally, I think that what I'm looking at it in terms of like what they accomplished, bro, in terms of accolades, like as a group, I think they are the greatest faction. In terms of like individual accolades, I'm gonna say if you're talking just collectively as a group, I think New Day is the greatest. But if you're talking about like in terms of like tag team championships and shit like that, but if you're talking about like singles titles, single success, and this is like more so of a kayfabe thing, because like, you know, they don't fucking determine who win the titles. But like I'm talking about, like you would probably say the Shield. It's like turns like just singles accolades and like just stuff that they've done by themselves. But yeah, but just to repeat, like I think when you talking about like just overall team success, I think that New Day is probably the greatest faction that WWE has ever put together, and they still going, bro. They about to win the NXT tag titles on Saturday. So there you go. Look at that.
I hope
Look at that.
I do hope that happens. Andrew, thank you again for joining me today. Let everybody know where they can find you at.
They can find me on Twitter and Instagram or at AD__. Take on my YouTube channel, Andrew Thompson Interviews. Just finished editing. So like before I jumped on here, I was editing some clips. So I'm gonna put some stuff up on the channel this weekend. Add some clips, some past interviews. I'm gonna record some new stuff in the new year, or hopefully at the end of this month, whichever one. But you can see some new stuff from the channel as well. So just stay tuned and check out some clips that I got that I'm gonna throw up there. And you check out my ring work at Post Wrestling. I do a podcast over there called the NWA Podcast with my guys Nate and Chris. We just recorded a new episode. Always enjoy talking to them, and yeah, check out my ring work too. And yeah, that's it. That's all I got. That's all I got for you, Jeremy.
Andrew, thank you again. Check out the links are below. Everybody, go subscribe to his channel. Always doing great interviews, posting new clips and everything. And go to Post Wrestling. Check out all the news work that he's doing, the news updates whenever they come out. It's usually like 3 times a week, I believe. Whether it's the news updates or the singular post, go over there. Doing great work as always. Andrew, I appreciate you so much. Thank you again for doing this, guys. Thanks everybody for tuning in. Guys, remember you can subscribe, leave a thumbs up on this video, subscribe to Fightful Overbooked. Check out everything we're doing over here. We just had a New Japan podcast drop yesterday. We have Coexisting tomorrow, and then Newsworthy on Saturday. So new episodes, new content daily here on Fightful Overbooked. Thank you guys for checking this out. Thank you guys for watching. Thank you guys for supporting, subscribing.